Welcome to Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Nick Roloff. We have trade rumors on tap heading into week 2. 2 trade rumors on our own players, Tyreek Hill and Jaelan Phillips, but also maybe a target for the Miami Dolphins, that being Greg Newsome, the corner for the Cleveland Browns. And before I get into the trade rumors, I do want to set the stage on where I stand with potentially making some trades. This week is the inflection point. It's the the teeter-totter? Is that what it's just called? Oh, seesaw. Thank you. We are on the seesaw. A win this week keeps us level. A loss this week puts us in terms of selling. I really am. A win, season isn't over. We'll see how it progresses. But dial up some wins. We might be buyers at the November 4th trade deadline. But a loss this week, that means you're 0-2. Heading into Buffalo on Thursday Night Football, where you're going to be 0-3, and that probably puts you at best 3-5 heading into the deadline, which means you're selling. So this week means a lot for the future of the 2025 season when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. Before we get to these trade rumors, make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Nick_Roloff is the handle, because if any rumors emerge or any trade actually happens, I'll have you notified on social media before coming here live on the channel and breaking it down. So follow me today, 55 away from 2,400 to get there ASAP. Up first, we're going to talk about Tyreek Hill. And we did a little bit of a Tyreek Hill trade video earlier this week, but I wanted to rehash some points in this trade rumors video because Bleacher Report actually put out a big board of trade candidates heading into week 2, and number 1 on their big board was Tyreek Hill, which should come as no surprise because if I had to project the most likely player to be traded across the league, I would probably say it's Tyreek Hill because the Dolphins aren't going to keep him for 2026. And if they're a struggling team, which they look like in week 1, then probably going to deal him before November 4th. Now, the 2 teams that are the most interested in Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, or the most likely landing spots are the Kansas City Chiefs, Hill's ex-team, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they've been really looking for a potential 1B or number 2 wide receiver for DK Metcalf, and that's a team that is all in right now with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, trying to maximize on his final year in the NFL to win an NFL Super Bowl. And I will say this, if the Dolphins become sellers, which means they lose this Sunday, they're 3-5, 2-6 at the trade deadline, there's just no world where you can justify keeping Tyreek Hill on the roster. He's got a $52.8 million cap hit next year. You save $36 million in cap space if you cut him after the season. So why wouldn't you just get ahead of that? Trade him at the deadline, especially if you are not going to be in the playoffs this year, which you are not going to be in the playoffs if you are 2-6, 3-5. Heck, I would consider trading him at 4-4 because the season's probably not going anywhere regardless. Now, you might ask, what could you get in return for a Tyreek Hill trade? Bleacher Report projected his trade value as a conditional 3rd, and I think this is more than fair. I know some people might say, hey, I'm not trading Tyreek unless I get a 1st or a 2nd-round pick. Well, let's be real here, guys. Tyreek Hill is a headache off the football field. He is 30-plus years of age, and you got to look back at what happened last year. Davante Adams, a unbelievable, legit wide receiver who got traded from the Raiders to the Jets. What was the package going back to Las Vegas? It was a conditional 3rd-round pick from New York. That's probably what it would be for Tyreek Hill as well. Same type of production from each respective veteran, same type of age. I would take a flat-out 3rd and a 6th rather than a conditional 3rd, and because I bet the conditions probably don't get hit. Point is, I don't think you can expect a 2nd or 1st-round pick for Tyreek Hill. If a team offered you a top 64 pick and you didn't accept it, I think I would have to beat someone up. I got to be honest. That would be malpractice. Pinned comment, make the call. Will Tyreek Hill be traded this season before the deadline? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I will be very clear here. You will need clarity on the domestic violence claim. Remember, his ex-wife in divorce filings claimed that Tyreek Hill pushed her, spit on her, twisted her arm. He has denied it. We'll see how this ultimately progresses. The NFL is currently looking into it. They have the right to suspend Tyreek Hill. even if no criminal charges are brought up against him due to the NFL player personal conduct policy. So we do have to have clarity and see how that unfolds before a Tyreek Hill trade could ultimately go down. Let's shift over to maybe a positive trade here. Greg Newsome. What if the Dolphins wanted to trade for a player? I think Newsome could be that person that I have in mind. If Miami turns the season around, I think Newsome would be the perfect buy candidate. And I'll be honest, I think he would be a good trade target regardless. This is a player that was a former first-round pick and has a ton of talent. And he was really good at the first 3 years of his career. Had the worst season of his career last year. It's the reason why he didn't get an extension, I think, by the Browns. Well, in week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals, going up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, he was flat out dominant. Had a 74.8 coverage grade, didn't allow a single catch while being targeted twice, had a PBU, 2 forced incompletions, and a QB rating when targeted of 39.6. And by the way, both of those targets that he was targeted on were when he was defending the best wide receiver arguably in football. I'll still take Justin Jefferson, but Jamar at number 2. That's who he was going up against. Newsome has a lot of upside to him, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more here in a second. But make the right picks on PrizePicks. Listen, you and I make decisions every day, and with the right ones, you can get paid. Where it's good to be right with PrizePicks. It's so simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can cash out of your lineup. Isn't perfect. Double your money, even if one of your picks does not hit. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long. I have my entry in for the Week 2 matchup between Miami and New England. First of all, take that max discount on Travis Kelce half a passing yard, and then I'm pairing it up with more than Drake May completions, less than Tua longest completion, 34.5 yards, and more than Riley Patterson, 1.5 field goals made. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Shifting back towards Greg Newsome here. Bleacher Report's projected trade value for Newsome, the former first-rounder, is a flat-out third-round pick. I think I'd be all in on that. Listen, this is a guy that is a former first-round pick out of Northwestern. He's just 25.3 years of age, so he's still very young. And if you trade for him, it works out where you like what you see in the Dolphin system. He can be extended going forward in the CB1 of this secondary, which, by the way, you do not have. You don't. Storm Duck, not looking good for the future. Jason Marshall Jr. didn't have a strong Week 1 performance. Jack Jones is on a 1-year deal. Rasul Douglas is on a 1-year deal. Juju Brents was just claimed. So it's like you don't have a guy that you could hang your hat on right now that you're confident in being on this roster and in the secondary 2 years from now. So why wouldn't you want to trade for Greg Newsome, help secure your secondary and cornerback room now, but also have someone for the future? And I'll even say this. If it's a cheap third-round pick, I would make that deal even if the Dolphins were out of the playoffs. We saw a team do this just 3 years ago. The Bears. They were out of the playoffs. They're a terrible football team. But what they do, they traded a second-round pick for Montez Sweat at the deadline. Not because they were trying to buy now for the season, but because they viewed Sweat as a very good building block at a position of need, which is a pass rusher. So even if the Dolphins aren't competing this year, Newsome, if he was on the trade block for a third-rounder, I would pull the trigger to get that former first-round pick, that 25-year-old, into your locker room and potentially be your CB1 for the next 5-6 years. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're bringing you daily news, rumors, analysis, and more for the Miami Dolphins. Whether it's trade rumors, injury news, watch parties, hit that sub button and join the channel. Let's get to 74K before game day on Sunday. We are less than 200 away. The final trade rumor that we have on today's show, Jaelan Phillips. Could the Dolphins trade away their former first-round pick? Same draft class, by the way, as Greg Newsome. Both players entering the final year of their rookie deals, playing on their fifth-year options. Jaelan Phillips actually came in at number 4 on the Bleacher Report trade big board, which is very interesting. And I'll be honest, it's kind of hard to disagree with them. Because if the Dolphins are selling, they're 1 at 5, they're 2 and 4, or whatever they are, then you should probably include Jaelan Phillips into the sell list. I think you should, because you have 1 year left on his contract. Same thing with Newsome. Are you planning on extending him? I don't know. Like, he hasn't played more than 4 games in the last year and a half. Now, if he stays healthy this year, maybe you think about keeping him around long term and being that edge partner duo with Chop Robinson, but I can't guarantee that. So if a team comes calling with a solid offer, well, then I'm intrigued. And the potential destinations listed by Bleacher Report are the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously have that connection with Brian Flores there. Jaelan Phillips was drafted by Flores. And then, or not drafted by him, but you get the point, played underneath them. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, that's fascinating to me. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. So those guys feel like really good landing spots for Phillips. Now, the projected trade value is a conditional 4th rounder, which feels low, but it's hard to disagree with it. We know that Jaelan Phillips is very, very capable of being a dominant pass rusher. We've seen it before. But the fact that he tore his Achilles in 2023, tore his ACL in 2024, like, it's hard to really sell other teams on getting a better draft pick because he's been injured so often. Week 1 was all right, 12.5% win percentage, 3 pressures, 1 tackle. First real game action in a while. So we'll see how he continues to play over the next month or so. But I can't commit to Jaelan Phillips long term. So if a team comes offering an early day 3 pick or a late day 2 pick, might have to take it. Final word on today's show. Will Miami be buyers or sellers at the November 4th NFL trade deadline? I'm about to give you my prediction, but let me hear yours in the comments. I would be typing my ass. I think we're sellers. Why? Because I think the Dolphins lose on Sunday to the Patriots. I said that in my preview. I have a Patriots 20-17 win. It's hard for me to rally around this team right now with Mike McDaniel being so incompetent and Tua Tagovailoa looking as bad as he did on film this past Sunday. Do I believe we're better than what we showed on last Sunday? Absolutely. But not good enough, especially missing 2 offensive linemen at right guard and right tackle. So if you lose this Sunday, you're going to lose to the Bills the following week. You're 0-3. And even if you go in, what do you have? You'd have 5 games before the deadline. You go 3-2 in those 5 games. You're 3-5. That's a selling team. So to me, I think they lose this Sunday, which ultimately kind of parlays us on the sellers at the deadline. Like I said earlier, make sure you follow me over on Twitter for more Dolphins news, rumors, highlights, breakdowns. And if Dolphins news comes through, well, we'll have the update on Twitter prior to making a video here on the channel. So go give me a follow right now at Nick_Roloff.